Hello and welcome back. So today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, baffling cycles a person can get stuck in. Wanting to stop drinking, but feeling like your own body is compelling you to keep going. But here's the thing, this isn't really a story about willpower. It's a story about brain science. We're going to uncover exactly how the brain learns addiction and how that very same power can be harnessed to unlearn it.
This is such a raw and honest description of a feeling that's familiar to so many. That middle of the night dread, the cycle of regret, and promising yourself never again, only to watch it all repeat. It feels like a deeply personal battle, but its roots, they're not some flaw in your character. They are wired directly into our biology. So this really is the central question, isn't it? Why does this whole loop feel like it's just running on autopilot, totally out of our control? Well, to find the answer, we have to look at the brain's most incredible and sometimes its most challenging superpower.
And that superpower is simply its ability to change. I'm not just talking about memory here. I mean the actual physical structure of your brain. The very wiring is constantly adapting based on what you do, what you think, and what you feel. It's a process called neuroplasticity, and honestly, it is the key to everything we're talking about. Okay, so this is absolutely crucial to get. The cycle we're exploring isn't about being weak or flawed. It is the direct result of a powerful biological process of learning and adaptation that has just gone into overdrive. The science on this is crystal clear. We are talking about brain mechanics, not character. So what is this mechanism? What allows our brains to learn and change in such a profound way? What allows a simple habit to morph into this all-consuming drive? Well, the answer has a name. Neuroplasticity, it's this amazing principle that our brains aren't fixed, they're not set in stone. Every single time we repeat an action, especially one that gives us a powerful sense of relief or reward, we literally strengthen the neural pathways for that action. Think of it like carving a path in a dense forest. The more you use that path, the wider and easier it is to follow. And that right there is how the brain learns addiction. And this just brilliantly illustrates our modern understanding of addiction. We're not talking about a broken brain. We're talking about a brain that has become incredibly deficient at doing one specific thing. The brain changes that happen with addiction are, as one source puts it, more normal than abnormal. It's just a process of learning that has become deeply ingrained. So, how does this powerful learning process actually build that vicious cycle of habit and craving? To really see that, we need to zoom in on the specific machinery involved, what neuroscientists call the brain's motivational core. You see, when it comes to addiction, alcohol is incredibly precise. It targets and basically rewires three key regions of the brain, essentially hijacking them and forcing them to work together with a single unified goal: get more. It all starts with the engine room, the striatum. This is the source of our impulsive actions, the part of you that just goes, "Ooh, I want that." Alcohol trains the striatum to see drinking not just as a reward, but as a top-tier, high-value, essential reward. But it's not just a simple want. Next up is the amygdala, and its job is to link intense emotion to that desire. This is what transforms a simple craving into an urgent, desperate need for relief from anxiety or stress. It completely raises the emotional stakes. And then finally, you have the orbitofrontal cortex, or the OFC. This is the evaluator. Its job is to weigh your goals and decide what's important. Alcohol teaches it to place this massive, completely disproportionate value on the immediate reward of drinking, effectively making it blind to any and all long-term consequences. So together, these three regions create a perfect, relentless storm of craving. So, okay, we've got this powerful, emotionally charged, motivational core just screaming drink. But what about the logical part of our brain? The part that knows this is a terrible idea? Well, that is where the real conflict begins. That rational part of our brain, the one responsible for self-control and good choices, that's called the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. And you can pretty much think of it as the brain's CEO. It's the home of our logic, our planning, and our self-control. Yeah, the PFC's job description is basically being a rational adult. It's in charge of logical thought, planning for the future, hitting the brakes on our impulses, and this one's so important, it's what allows us to actually care about our future self. It's the little voice that asks, "Hey, is this really a good idea right now?" This quote from addiction specialist Dr. Nicole Labor just perfectly nails what happens when that CEO is faced with what the brain perceives as a survival level need. Logic, it just doesn't stand a chance. And that is exactly what happens in the brain. The intense, emotionally charged signals from that motivational core get so loud, so overwhelming, that they can basically take the logical prefrontal cortex completely offline. The CEO gets locked out of the boardroom.
So let's just break this down. Normally, your brain operates with what we call top-down control. The logical PFC is the pilot, right? It's guiding your choices toward your long-term goals. But in the grip of a powerful craving, that whole thing gets flipped. You get these intense bottom-up signals from the motivational core that just flood the system, completely overwhelming the PFC. And in that moment, the drive for immediate gratification wins. End of story.
Now, I know that might sound really bleak,
But remember that superpower we started with?
neuroplasticity. The amazing thing is, it works both ways. The very same process that wires the brain for addiction is the exact same process that can unwire it. And this is the most critical point of all. This rewiring is not permanent damage. It's not a life sentence. It is a state of deep, powerful learning. And what that means is that we can actively learn our way out of it by building new pathways. I just love this quote because it paints such an honest picture of what recovery is. It's not about erasing the past. The old pathways, that synaptic residue, they might always be there in some form. But recovery is about building new, stronger pathways that actually transform the old ones, giving them new meaning and way less power. And that, right there, is the biological foundation of hope. Because our brains are plastic, they can be changed. Every single time a different choice is made, you're not just resisting an urge, you are physically building a new neural pathway. And over time, that new path becomes the wider, easier one to take, while the old one starts to fade away from disuse. So we've seen how the brain's learning system can get hijacked. We've seen the battle between the craving centers and our rational mind, but that really just raises a deeper question. What is the fundamental force that drives this whole process in the first place? And this is exactly what we're going to explore next time. The brain's fundamental pleasure-pain balance. We're going to find out why, for so many people, the cycle stops being about chasing a good feeling and becomes a desperate attempt to simply avoid feeling bad. It is a critical tipping point in the science of addiction, and we are going to break it all down. I'll see you then.